The starship moved slowly through the purple clouds of the system. Inside the ship, a man named Ho stood near the window and watched the alien world grow larger. He was 43 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that had seen many strange things in the galaxy. Ho was a diplomat. His job was to talk to alien species and make agreements that helped both humans and aliens. He had done this work for 20 years. He had visited worlds made of ice, worlds made of fire, and worlds where the sky rained diamonds, but he had never visited the Empire before. They were a proud species. They had ruled their part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They were tall and beautiful, with silver skin and eyes like purple stars. They lived for 300 years, and they believed this made them better than other species, especially better than humans who only lived for about 80 years. Ho knew all of this. He had studied them for months before this trip. He knew they thought humans were like insects, creatures that lived fast, died fast, and did not matter very much. But Ho also knew something they did not understand. Humans were patient. Humans could wait, and humans never forgot. The ship landed on a platform made of white crystal. Through the window, Ho could see hundreds of standing in perfect lines. They wore robes of silver and gold. Behind them stood a palace that touched the clouds. It was beautiful, but it was also meant to make visitors feel small. Ho smiled a little. He had seen bigger palaces. He had seen wonders that made this place look like a child's toy, but he did not say this. He simply put on his formal coat, checked his reflection in the mirror, and walked to the door. His assistant, a young woman named Hana, was waiting for him. She was 28 years old, smart and quick, with short black hair and serious eyes. This was her first big diplomatic mission, and she was nervous. "Ambassador," she said quietly, "I have been listening to their communications. They are not happy that we are here. Many of them think the Queen should not meet with humans at all." Ho nodded. "I expected this. They have never needed anyone before. They do not understand why they need us now." "But they do need us," Hana said. "Their trade routes are dying. The wormhole paths are becoming unstable. Without human navigation technology, they will be cut off from half the galaxy within 50 years. 50 years is nothing to them," Ho said. "They live for 3 centuries. They think they have time to find another solution." He paused at the door. "They are wrong, of course, but they will not believe us until they see it for themselves." The door opened and warm air rushed into the ship. It smelled like flowers and something else, something sharp and electric. Ho walked down the ramp with Hana beside him. An official came forward to greet them. He was tall, almost 7 feet, with silver skin that seemed to glow in the sunlight. His name was Lord, and he was the Queen's chief advisor. "Human ambassador," Lord said. His voice was cold but polite. "Welcome to the Empire. Her Majesty Queen will receive you in the Grand Hall." Ho bowed slightly. "Thank you, Lord. We are honored to be here." Lord's purple eyes studied Ho for a long moment. There was something like curiosity in his gaze, but also something like pity, as if he was looking at an animal that did not know it was walking into a trap. They walked through the palace gates and into a world of crystal and light. The walls were made of something that looked like glass but was harder than steel. The floors were smooth as water. Everywhere Ho looked, he saw nobles watching him with cold, curious eyes. Hana walked close beside him. "They are all staring at us," she whispered. "Let them stare," Ho said calmly. "We are probably the first humans most of them have ever seen. We are strange to them." "Strange and inferior," Hana said bitterly. "I can see it in their faces. They think we are animals." Ho did not answer. He just kept walking with his head held high and his expression peaceful. He had learned long ago that the best response to insults was dignity. Words could be twisted, but dignity was something no one could take away. The Grand Hall was the largest room Ho had ever seen. It was so big that clouds actually floated near the ceiling. Thousands of nobles stood along the walls. Their silver faces turned toward a throne at the far end of the room. And on that throne sat Queen. She was young, only 26 cycles old, which was like being a teenager for the. She had been queen for only 2 years, since her mother died in a plague that had swept through the royal family. She was beautiful in the way all were beautiful, with silver skin and purple eyes and hair like white silk. But there was something else in her face, something hard and angry. Ho looked at her and saw a young woman who was scared but would never admit it. A young woman who had been given too much power too soon, and who hid her fear behind pride and cruelty. He felt sorry for her, but he also knew that feeling sorry for someone did not mean accepting their insults. Ho walked forward and stopped 10 feet from the throne. He bowed deeply, not because the queen deserved it, but because he respected the customs of other species. When he stood up straight again, he looked directly into Queen's eyes. "Your Majesty," he said clearly, so everyone in the hall could hear. "I am Ambassador Ho of the Human Federation. I bring greetings from our president and our people. We come in peace, seeking friendship and fair trade between our species." Queen did not answer immediately. She looked at Ho the way someone might look at a bug that had crawled onto their dinner plate. Her purple eyes moved slowly over his gray hair, his lined face, his simple human body. When she finally spoke, her voice was beautiful but cold, like music made of ice. "So," she said, "this is a human. I expected something more." Soft laughter rippled through the hall. Ho heard it, but his expression did not change. Hana's hands tightened into fists at her sides, but she stayed silent. "I am simply a man, Your Majesty," Ho said calmly. "Nothing more and nothing less." Queen leaned forward on her throne. "How old are you, human?" 43 years, Your Majesty." More laughter. Queen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. 43 years. You are already more than half dead. I am 26 cycles old, and I will live for another 300 years. When you are dust in the ground, I will still be young. Ho nodded slowly. "That is true, Your Majesty. Humans do not live as long as the, but we have learned that the length of a life matters less than what is done with it." The Queen's smile disappeared. She did not like his answer. She did not like that he was not afraid. Lord stepped forward quickly, trying to smooth over the moment. "Your Majesty, the human ambassador has traveled far. Perhaps we should begin the negotiations." "Negotiations," Queen cut him off. "What is there to negotiate? The humans want to sell us their technology. We will decide if it is worth buying. That is all." Ho felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was not going to be a negotiation. This was going to be a humiliation. The young queen wanted to show her people that she was strong, that she did not need the humans, that she could treat them however she wanted. But Ho was a patient man. He had dealt with difficult leaders before. He could handle a young queen with too much pride. Or so he thought. He did not know that the real insult was still coming. He did not know that in 1 hour everything would change. And he did not know that sometimes the quietest response was the most powerful one of all. For now he simply bowed again and said, "I am at Your Majesty's service." Queen looked at him with those cold purple eyes, and somewhere behind them Ho could see the fear she was hiding, the fear of being young, the fear of being alone, the fear of ruling an empire that was slowly dying, even if no one would admit it. He wished he could help her, but first she would have to learn to ask. The formal reception began 1 hour after Ho arrived. It was held in a different hall, smaller than the Grand Hall but still bigger than any building on Earth. Crystal tables held food and drinks from 100 different worlds. Music played from somewhere, soft and strange and beautiful. Ho stood near one wall with Hana beside him. They watched the nobles move through the room like silver ghosts. No one spoke to them. No one even looked at them directly. It was as if they did not exist. "This is uncomfortable," Hana said quietly. "It is meant to be," Ho replied. "They want us to feel unwelcome. They want us to know our place. And what is our place? Ho smiled a little. That is what we are here to find out. A servant approached them, carrying a tray of strange fruits. The servant was young, with nervous eyes. He offered the tray to Ho with shaking hands. Thank you, Ho said warmly. He took one of the fruits and smiled at the servant. What is your name? The servant looked shocked. No one had ever asked him that before. My name is One, sir. Thank you, One, this looks delicious. The young servant bowed quickly and hurried away. But Ho saw something in his eyes before he left. Something like gratitude. Something like wonder. Hana shook her head. You are too kind to everyone. Kindness costs nothing, Ho said, and you never know who will remember it. Across the room, Queen sat on a smaller throne. She was surrounded by nobles who laughed at her jokes and agreed with everything she said. But Ho noticed that Lord stood apart from the group. The advisor's face was worried. He kept looking at Ho, then at the Queen, then back again. Something was wrong, Ho could feel it. After an hour, a bell rang 3 times. The music stopped. The nobles moved to the sides of the room, leaving an empty space in the center. Queen stood up from her throne and walked into that empty space. My people, she said loudly, we have visitors tonight, humans from the other side of the galaxy. They say they want to be our friends. She paused, and her lips curved into a cruel smile. They say they want to help us. Laughter rippled through the crowd. It was not friendly laughter. Queen turned to look at Ho. Come forward, human, let everyone see you. Ho hesitated for just a moment. Then he walked forward calmly, his hands clasped behind his back. He stopped a few feet from the Queen and bowed politely. Your Majesty, he said. Queen circled around him slowly like a predator examining its prey. Her purple eyes studied every part of him, his gray hair, his weathered skin, his simple human body. Tell me, Ambassador, she said loudly so everyone could hear, how long do humans live? About 80 years, Your Majesty, sometimes a little more. 80 years, Queen laughed. My grandmother lived for 462 years. She saw empires rise and fall. She watched stars being born. She stopped in front of Ho and looked directly into his eyes. What can a creature that lives for 80 years possibly understand about the universe? Ho kept his voice calm. We understand enough, Your Majesty. We have built ships that cross the galaxy. We have developed technology that... Technology? Queen cut him off. Yes, I have heard about your technology, your navigation systems, your wormhole stabilizers. She waved her hand dismissively. Clever toys made by a clever species, but cleverness is not wisdom, and toys can be replaced. The nobles murmured in agreement. Some of them were smiling openly now. Hana stepped forward. Your Majesty, with respect, our technology cannot be easily replaced. The wormhole routes that connect your empire to the outer sectors are becoming unstable. Without our help. Without your help, Queen's voice became sharp and angry. Are you threatening me, little human, in my own palace? No, Your Majesty, Hana said quickly. I am simply stating facts. Facts? Queen walked toward Hana until they were face to face. The Queen was much taller, and she used that height to look down at the young human woman. Here is a fact, little one. Humans are the youngest species in the Galactic Council. You have only been traveling among the stars for 300 years. The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We were building palaces when your ancestors were still living in caves and hunting with sharp sticks. Hana's face went red with anger and shame. Ho put a gentle hand on her arm and pulled her back. Your Majesty, he said quietly, my assistant meant no disrespect. We came here hoping to build a friendship between our peoples. Perhaps we could discuss the trade agreement in private. In private? Queen laughed again. It was a harsh sound. Why would I discuss anything with you in private? You are nothing, human. Your species is nothing. You are short-lived insects buzzing around the edges of civilized space. You are born, you live your tiny lives, and then you die and are forgotten. That is all you are. That is all you will ever be." The hall was completely silent now. Every noble was watching. Every servant had frozen in place. Even the air seemed to hold still. Ho felt something change inside him. Not anger, he had learned to control his anger long ago, but something else. A door closing, a decision being made. He looked at Queen for a long moment. He saw her pride. He saw her cruelty. And he saw, underneath it all, the fear of a young woman who did not know how to be a queen, who thought that being strong meant being cruel, who thought that being royal meant being above everyone else. He could have argued with her. He could have listed all the things humans had achieved. He could have pointed out that human scientists had discovered the wormhole stabilization technology that her empire needed. He could have reminded her that half the trade routes in the galaxy now depended on human navigation systems. But he did none of these things. Instead, he simply nodded once very slowly. Then he turned to Hana and spoke quietly. "We are leaving." Hana stared at him with wide eyes. "Ambassador." "We are leaving," he repeated. "Now." He turned his back on Queen and began walking toward the door. His footsteps echoed in the silent hall. Every eye was on him. "Stop," Queen's voice was sharp. "I did not give you permission to leave." Ho did not stop. He did not even slow down. "I command you to stop." The Queen's voice rose higher. "Guards, stop the human." Two guards moved to block the door. They were huge, carrying weapons that glowed with energy. Ho walked toward them without hesitation. Lord rushed forward. "Your Majesty, please, this is a diplomatic envoy if we detain them." "They cannot just leave," Queen screamed. All her coldness was gone now. She was just a young woman who had been, and she did not know how to handle it. "They came to my palace. They asked for my help. They cannot just walk away." Ho finally stopped. He turned around and looked at the Queen one last time. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear, without any anger or hatred. "You are wrong, Your Majesty," he said. "We did not come to ask for your help. We came to offer ours. But you have made it clear that you do not want it, so we will go." He paused, and something sad crossed his face. "You called us insects, short-lived and forgettable, but insects remember where they find poison. And insects talk to each other. Every species in this galaxy will know what happened here tonight, not because we will tell them, but because they will see. They will see that the Queen, the young ruler of a dying empire, was too proud to accept help, too cruel to show basic respect, too foolish to understand that true power does not come from how long you live, but from how you treat others." He turned back to the guards. They looked at each other uncertainly. "Let him go," Lord said quietly. His voice was heavy with defeat. The guards stepped aside. Ho walked through the door without looking back. Hana followed close behind him. The heavy crystal doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. In the silent hall, Queen stood alone in the center of the room. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. Lord approached her carefully. "Your Majesty." "Get out," she whispered. "Everyone get out now." The nobles fled. The servants disappeared. Within minutes, the great hall was empty except for the Queen and her advisor. "What have I done?" Queen whispered. Lord looked at her with old, tired eyes. "You have insulted the one species that could have saved us, Your Majesty. You have made an enemy of the only friends we might have had. They are just humans. They are nothing." "They are everything," Lord said quietly, "and you will understand that soon enough." Outside, Ho walked toward his ship. The night air was cold, but he did not feel it. His heart was beating steadily. His mind was clear. Hana caught up to him. "Ambassador, what do we do now?" Ho looked up at the alien stars. "We go home, we wait, and we let them learn." "Learn what?" He smiled, but it was a sad smile. That respect is not given because someone demands it. It is earned. And that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. They boarded their ship and left the world behind. And as the planet grew smaller in the window, Ho thought about Queen, about her fear and her pride and her cruelty. She would learn, he thought. One way or another she would learn. They always did. 3 months passed after Ho's ship left space. At first, Queen told herself it did not matter. The humans were gone. Good. She did not need them. She did not need anyone. But then the problems began. It started with small things. A trade ship that took 3 weeks to arrive instead of 3 days. A cargo of medical supplies that disappeared somewhere in the wormhole network. A communication signal that arrived garbled and broken. Lord brought her reports every morning. Each day, the reports were worse. The route has become unstable, he told her one morning. Our ships cannot use it anymore. They have to go around, which adds 60 days to every journey. Then find another route, Queen said. There is no other route, Your Majesty. The route was the only stable path to the agricultural colonies. Without it, food supplies will become difficult. Difficult but not impossible. For now, Lord's voice was carefully neutral. But the instability is spreading. The Orion Passage showed problems last week. The Silk Road is becoming unpredictable. Our scientists say that within 2 years, half of our wormhole network could become unusable. Queen slammed her hand on the table. Then fix it. We have the best scientists in the galaxy. We have been traveling through wormholes for 10,000 years. Surely we can solve this problem without the help of some short-lived insects. Lord was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke carefully. Your Majesty, with respect, the wormhole stabilization technology was invented by humans. They understand it in ways we do not. Our scientists have tried to copy their work, but they cannot. It is like trying to copy a painting without understanding how to hold a brush. Then steal it, spy on them, find out how it works. We have tried, Your Majesty. The humans protect their technology very carefully, and after what happened, no human scientist will speak to us. No human company will do business with us. No human government will answer our messages. Queen felt something cold in her stomach. What do you mean, they will not answer? We have sent 47 diplomatic messages in the last 3 months. Not one has received a response. They are not refusing us, Your Majesty. They are simply ignoring us, as if we do not exist. The Queen stood up and walked to the window. Outside, her beautiful city sparkled in the sunlight. But now she saw it differently. She saw how fragile it all was. How dependent on the trade routes that connected them to the rest of the galaxy. How quickly it could all fall apart. They cannot ignore us forever, she said quietly. They can, Your Majesty. Humans have a saying, time heals all wounds, but they have another saying too, actions have consequences. Lord stepped closer. You insulted their ambassador in front of the entire court. You called them insects. You called them nothing. And then they walked away. So they are angry, fine. I will apologize, I will. It is not about anger, Your Majesty. Lord's voice was gentle but firm. The humans are not angry. That is what makes this so difficult. If they were angry, they would shout. They would make demands. They would give us a chance to fix things. But they are not angry. They are simply done. They have decided that we are not worth their time. Queen turned to face him. For the first time since she became queen, she looked scared. What do I do? I do not know, Your Majesty. I truly do not know. The months continued to pass. The problems grew worse. By the 6th month, food prices had doubled. Ships were taking so long to arrive that fresh produce rotted before it reached the markets. People began to complain, first quietly, then loudly. By the 9th month, the outer colonies were struggling. Some of them had been cut off completely when the wormhole routes to their sectors collapsed. Emergency supplies had to be sent the long way, through normal space, which took years instead of days. The other alien empires watched with interest. Some of them had always hated some of them had always wanted what they had, and now, for the first time in 10,000 years, they looked weak. Queen sat in her throne room and listened to reports of border conflicts. Small ones at first. A mining colony raided by pirates. A trade station accidentally damaged by a foreign warship. Diplomatic incidents that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "They are testing us," Lord said. "They want to see how we respond. They want to see if we are still strong." "Then show them we are strong. Send the fleet." "Which fleet, Your Majesty? Half of our ships are stuck on the wrong side of the broken wormhole network. The other half are spread across the Empire trying to keep order. We do not have enough ships to show strength. We barely have enough to survive." Queen closed her eyes. She remembered the night of the reception. She remembered the human ambassador's calm face. She remembered his words, "Respect is not given because someone demands it. It is earned." She had not understood then. She understood now. She had sent more messages to Earth, of course, many more messages. At first they were demands, then requests, then pleas. None of them received answers. Finally, in desperation, she recorded a personal message. She sat in front of the camera and spoke directly to Ambassador Ho. "I know you have no reason to answer me," she said. Her voice was smaller than she wanted it to be. "I know I treated you badly. I know I said terrible things, but my people are suffering. The problems we face are getting worse every day. Children are hungry, families are separated. The empire my mother gave her life to protect is falling apart." She paused, struggling with the words. "I was wrong. I was foolish and young and scared, and I used cruelty to hide my fear. I called you insects because I was afraid of what it meant that we needed you. I called you nothing because I was terrified that without you, we might become nothing ourselves." Tears ran down her silver cheeks. She did not wipe them away. "Please, Ambassador, I am not asking you to forgive me. I am asking you to remember that there are millions of innocent people in this empire who did not insult you, who did nothing wrong except be ruled by a foolish queen. They do not deserve to suffer for my mistakes." She stopped speaking. The camera recorded her sitting there, tears on her face, pride broken. "Please," she whispered, "help us." She sent the message and waited. 1 day passed, then 2, then a week. No answer came. Lord found her sitting in the dark one night, staring at nothing. "Your Majesty, you need to eat. You need to rest." "What is the point?" Her voice was empty. "I have destroyed everything. My pride has killed my empire. My mother would be ashamed of me." "Your mother made mistakes too," Lord said gently. "Every ruler does. The question is not whether you make mistakes. The question is what you do after." "There is nothing to do. The humans will not answer. The other empires are circling like wolves. My own people are beginning to hate me." She laughed bitterly. "I am 26 years old. I should have 300 years ahead of me, but I think I will be remembered as the queen who ended everything." Lord sat down beside her. For a long moment he was quiet. "I knew your mother well," he said finally. "She was strong and proud like you, but she also knew something that you are only beginning to learn. Pride is important, but it is not everything. Sometimes the strongest thing a ruler can do is admit she was wrong. And sometimes the bravest thing is to keep trying, even when it seems hopeless. But the humans will not listen. Then we must find a way to make them listen, not through force or tricks, but through honesty, through showing them that we have changed, that you have changed." Queen looked at him with red, tired eyes. "How?" Lord thought for a moment. The ambassador said something before he left. He said that respect is earned. Perhaps it is time to start earning it. "How do we earn the respect of people who will not even speak to us?" "By doing the right thing even when no one is watching. By treating others with dignity even when we get nothing in return. By becoming the kind of people who deserve respect." He paused. "It may take years, it may take decades, but humans live for 80 years. They understand that change takes time. They understand patience." Queen was silent for a long while. Then slowly she nodded. "You are right," she said quietly. I cannot undo what I did, but I can change what I do next. She stood up, and some of the old strength returned to her voice. Tomorrow we will begin. We will send aid to the outer colonies, even if it costs us everything. We will treat the other species with respect, even if they do not deserve it. We will show the galaxy that they can change. Lord smiled, and the humans. Queen looked out the window at the stars. They will see, she said. Eventually they will see. 1 year after the human ambassador walked out of her palace, Queen stood in a hospital in the outer colonies. She was not there as a queen. She was there as a volunteer. The hospital was crowded with sick and injured people. Most of them were workers from the mines and farms who had been cut off from medical supplies when the trade routes collapsed. They had traveled weeks through dangerous space to reach this hospital, hopping for help. Queen moved through the beds, changing bandages, bringing water, holding hands. Her silver robes were dirty. Her beautiful hair was tied back in a simple knot. She did not look like a queen anymore. She looked like someone who cared. Lord had argued against this trip. It is too dangerous, Your Majesty. The Empire is unstable. You should stay in the capital where you are safe. But Queen had shaken her head. My people are suffering because of me. The least I can do is suffer with them. So she had traveled to the outer colonies. She had visited the struggling farms and the empty markets. She had spoken to families who had lost everything. And she had listened, really listened, for the first time in her life. She learned things that surprised her. She learned that the common people did not hate her as much as she had feared. They were angry, yes, and scared. But they also remembered her mother, who had been a good queen. They wanted to believe that the daughter could learn to be good too. She also learned about the humans. Many of the workers had met humans before, traders and scientists and explorers who had visited the outer colonies. The humans had been friendly, they said, helpful. They had shared their food and their medicine. They had treated the workers like equals, not like servants. They were good people, one old farmer told her. I never understood why our leaders looked down on them. They were different from us, yes. They did not live as long, but they worked hard and they cared about each other. That should have been enough. Queen felt shame burning in her chest. You are right, she said quietly. That should have been enough. The months continued to pass. Queen kept working, kept changing. She reformed the laws to treat common people more fairly. She opened the royal hospitals to anyone who needed care, not just nobles. She began sending ships to help other species who were struggling, even though they could barely afford it. The galaxy watched in surprise. This was not the behavior they expected from the proud. This was not the cruel queen who had insulted the human ambassador. Something had changed. News of her work spread slowly. Travelers carried stories from world to world. Diplomats mentioned it in their reports. Eventually, the stories reached Earth. Ho heard them too. He was back home, living in a small apartment near the ocean. He had retired from diplomatic work after the mission. He spent his days reading books, tending his garden, and watching the waves. But he still kept track of what was happening in the galaxy, and he noticed the change in the Empire. She is doing good work, Hannah told him during one of her visits. She had become a full ambassador now, responsible for her own missions. The outer colonies are recovering. The other species are starting to respect the again. And the queen, people say she is a different person. Ho nodded thoughtfully. People can change, even queens. Do you think we should answer her? She has sent many messages. Some of them are almost begging. What do you think? Hannah considered the question. I think she has suffered enough. I think she has learned. But I am not sure if the people of Earth would accept helping thee after what happened. That is the problem, yes. Ho looked out at the ocean. When I walked out of that palace, I was not trying to punish her. I was trying to teach her. Punishment would have been staying and arguing. Punishment would have been fighting back. But I did not want to fight. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. She understands now. Yes, I think she does. He smiled sadly. The question is whether understanding is enough. Back in the Empire, Queen continued her work. She was no longer the same person who had sat on that throne 2 years ago. She had seen too much. She had learned too much. One day, a ship arrived at the capital carrying refugees from a distant colony. The colony had been attacked by raiders, and the people had escaped with nothing but their lives. They were scared and hungry and had nowhere to go. Queen ordered the palace kitchens open to feed them. She gave them rooms in the palace to sleep in, and she sat with them herself, listening to their stories, sharing their grief. One of the refugees was an old woman named Bai. She had lived for 230 years and had seen many queens come and go. She watched Queen moving among the refugees, and she saw something that surprised her. "You have changed, Your Majesty," Bai said. Queen sat down beside her. "Have I? When your mother was queen, I met her once. She was kind but distant. She cared about her people, but she did not know them. You are different. You are here. You are present." The old woman studied her with wise eyes. "What happened to you?" Queen was quiet for a long moment. Then she told the story. She told about the human ambassador and the insult and the way he had simply walked away. She told about the shame and the fear and the slow understanding that followed. "I thought I was strong because I was proud," she said. "I thought I was powerful because I could hurt people with my words. But that was not strength. That was fear pretending to be strength. And now I try to be strong in different ways. I try to help instead of hurt. I try to listen instead of talk. I try to deserve the respect that I used to demand." She smiled sadly. "It is harder than I expected, but it is also better." Bai reached out and took the Queen's hand. "Your mother would be proud of you." Queen's eyes filled with tears. "I hope so. I hope she can see that I am trying." Months passed. The Empire slowly stabilized. The wormhole problem still existed, but the people had learned to adapt. They had learned to help each other. They had learned that survival was possible even in difficult times. And then on a quiet morning, a message arrived from Earth. Lord brought it to Queen himself. His hands were shaking. "It is from him," he said, "from Ambassador Ho." Queen took the message and stared at it. She was almost afraid to open it. After all this time, after all the unanswered messages, what could he possibly say? She opened it. The message was short, just a few sentences. "Your Majesty," it read, "I have watched the changes in your empire with interest. I have heard the stories of your work in the hospitals and the colonies. I have seen how you have treated the refugees and the poor and the forgotten. I believe that you have learned what I hoped you would learn. Respect is earned, not demanded, and you are beginning to earn it." Queen read the words again and again. Her heart was beating fast. "There is one more part," Lord said. She read on. "If you are willing, I would like to return to, not to negotiate, not to make deals, but to talk, as equals, as people who both have much to learn. If you agree, send one word, yes." Queen looked up at Lord. Tears were streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Really smiling, perhaps for the first time since her mother died. "Send the response," she said. "Send it now." Lord smiled too. What should it say? Queen laughed through her tears. It was a beautiful sound, full of hope and relief and 100 other emotions. "Yes," she said, "just yes." She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, across the vast darkness of space, an old man with gray hair was preparing to return to the place where he had been insulted and dismissed. But this time would be different. This time she was ready to listen. This time she would earn his respect, not demand it. And maybe, just maybe, they could build something new together, something better than what had existed before. She watched the stars and waited for his ship to arrive. The human ship landed on the same crystal platform where it had landed 2 years before, but everything else was different. 2 years ago, the platform had been surrounded by cold-faced nobles standing in perfect lines. Today, it was surrounded by common people, farmers and workers and refugees, all waiting to see the human ambassador who had taught their queen such an important lesson. Queen stood at the front of the crowd. She was not wearing her royal robes. Instead, she wore simple clothes, the same kind of clothes she had worn while working in the hospitals. She wanted the ambassador to see that she had changed. The ship's door opened. Ho walked down the ramp, followed by Hana. He looked older than before. His gray hair was thinner, his face more lined, but his eyes were still calm and kind. Queen walked forward to meet him. When they were face to face, she stopped. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Queen bowed. It was a deep bow, the kind that a student gives to a teacher, the kind that says, "I respect you, I have learned from you, I am grateful." A gasp went through the crowd. No queen had ever bowed to anyone before, not to other rulers, not to gods, and certainly not to a human. Ho watched her bow with thoughtful eyes. Then slowly he bowed back, not as deep but sincere. "Your Majesty," he said. "Ambassador Ho," Queen replied. She straightened and looked into his eyes. "Thank you for coming back. Thank you for inviting me. I am surprised you agreed, after everything I said to you, after everything I did." Ho smiled gently. "I am old, Your Majesty. Humans do not have time to hold grudges. We live too short for that. And besides," he paused, looking at the crowd around them, "you have done things worth seeing. You have become someone worth meeting." They walked together through the palace, but not toward the grand hall. Queen led him to a smaller room, a simple space with comfortable chairs and a window that looked out over the city. She offered him tea, real tea, from Earth, which she had bought at great expense. "I have spent the last 2 years thinking about what you said," Queen told him as they sat together. "About respect, about dignity, about what true strength really means." "And what have you decided?" She held her cup of tea in both hands and stared into the dark liquid. "I decided that I knew nothing. I was 26 years old, sitting on a throne I did not earn, ruling an empire I did not understand. I thought that because I would live for 300 years I was wise, but years do not bring wisdom. Only experience brings wisdom, and I had no experience at all." Ho nodded. "That is a hard thing to admit." "It was, but it was also necessary." She looked up at him. "You could have argued with me that night. You could have tried to convince me that I was wrong. Why did you just walk away?" Ho thought about the question for a moment. Because some lessons cannot be taught with words. Some lessons can only be learned through experience. If I had argued with you, you would have argued back. You would have become more certain that you were right. But when I walked away, I created a space where you could fail on your own, where you could see the consequences of your choices, where you could learn. It was a cruel lesson. Yes, and I am sorry for that. I watched your empire struggle and I felt sorry for your people, but I also believed that you were capable of growth. I believed that if I gave you time, you would become the leader they needed." He smiled. "I was right." Queen shook her head. "I am not a great leader. I have made terrible mistakes." Every great leader has made terrible mistakes. The difference is what they do afterward. You could have blamed others. You could have made excuses. You could have retreated into pride and let your empire fall. Instead, you went to the hospitals and the colonies. You changed the laws. You changed yourself. He set down his tea and looked at her seriously. "That takes more courage than any battle. That takes more strength than any weapon. But my people still suffer. The wormhole roots are still unstable. The other empires still circle like wolves. Those problems can be solved. Now that you are ready to work with us, we can share our technology. We can stabilize your roots. We can help you rebuild." He paused. "But I want you to understand something first." "What?" "We are not doing this because you apologized. We are not doing this because you proved you deserve it. We are doing this because it is the right thing to do, because helping others is what makes us human." He smiled again. We do not need to be respected to be kind. We are kind because that is who we choose to be. Queen felt tears forming in her eyes. I do not understand. I insulted you. I called you insects. I called you nothing. How can you be so forgiving? Ho reached out and took her hand. His skin was warm and soft, human skin that would age and die while her silver skin stayed young. But there was something in his touch that felt ancient and wise. Forgiveness is not the same as forgetting, he said. I remember what you said. I remember how it felt. But I also remember that you were young and scared and trying to be something you did not know how to be. We have all been there. We have all said things we regret. The question is not whether we make mistakes, it is whether we learn from them. And you think I have learned. I think you have started to learn. The learning never stops, not even when you are old like me. He let go of her hand and picked up his tea again. But yes, I think you are on the right path, and I think your mother would be proud of who you are becoming. The tears spilled over. Queen had not cried in front of anyone since she was a child. But something about this old man, this short-lived human she had once called an insect, made her feel safe enough to be weak. I miss her, she whispered. I miss her every day. I know, Ho said gently. That is what it means to love someone. It never stops hurting. But the pain reminds us that we are alive, that we can feel, that we are more than just rulers or ambassadors or queens. We are people who love and lose and learn. They sat in silence for a while, two people from different worlds, sharing a moment of understanding. Finally, Queen wiped her eyes and straightened her shoulders. So what happens now? Now we work. We send engineers to study your wormhole network. We share our stabilization technology. We help you rebuild what was lost. He smiled. And we start again, not as queen and ambassador, but as friends, as partners. Partners? Queen repeated the word like it was something precious. I never thought I would have human partners. Neither did I think I would have a friend. Life is strange that way. He stood up and walked to the window. You know, when I was young, I thought the galaxy was divided into friends and enemies, good people and bad people. But now I know it is not that simple. People can change. Enemies can become friends. And sometimes the most important thing is just showing up and being willing to try. Queen stood beside him at the window. Below them, the city was full of life. Silver-Skinned walked through the streets alongside workers from a dozen different species. It was not perfect, but it was real. It was a start. I have one more question, she said. Yes. Why did you really come back, after everything? Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was soft with memory. Because I have a granddaughter. She is 7 years old. She asked me once why humans bother exploring the galaxy when there are so many aliens who do not like us. I told her that we explore because we hope. We hope that someday, all the different species will learn to understand each other. We hope that kindness will win over cruelty. We hope that the galaxy will become a place where everyone is treated with dignity, no matter how long they live or what color their skin is. He turned to look at Queen. I came back because I wanted to show her that hope is not foolish, that people can change, that even the proudest queen in the galaxy can learn to bow. And that if we keep trying, keep showing up, keep believing in each other, maybe, just maybe, we can build something beautiful together. Queen felt her heart fill with something she had not felt in a long time. It was hope. Real hope, not just the desperate hope of a drowning person, but the quiet hope of someone who finally sees the shore. Then let us build it, she said, together. Ho smiled. And in that smile, Queen saw the answer to a question she had been asking for 2 years. Humans were not insects. They were not nothing. They were something rare and precious, creatures who lived short lives but filled those lives with love and hope and courage. Creatures who forgave not because they forgot, but because they believed in the possibility of change. She had insulted them. She had dismissed them. She had called them the worst things she could think of. And they had come back to help her anyway. That, she realized, was what true strength looked like. Not pride, not power, not living for 300 years. Just simple, stubborn, beautiful kindness. She looked at the old man beside her and she made a silent promise. She would spend the rest of her long life trying to be worthy of the lesson he had taught her. She would be kind. She would be humble. She would treat every species with respect, no matter how short their lives or how strange their ways. And someday, when she was old and ready to die, she would tell this story to her own children. The story of the human ambassador who walked away. The story of the queen who learned to bow. The story of how kindness changed everything.